Hey guys, today I'm going to be showing you how to do cube photography. So there are going to be 5 different areas that we're going to cover, and I'm just going to list them right now. So the first thing is angles, second is colors, third is depth of field, fourth is being creative, and fifth is editing. Alright, so now I'm going to be talking about the 5 points. So I'm going to be using a lot of examples from my Instagram. So the first example you may have seen on my Instagram is that I make the camera level with the table. This allows to see the detail on the cube and just to have that point of view as if you're looking straight at it. For example, with the camera right now, the angle of the cubes, it doesn't look that great, but if I were to have it like this, it looks a bit better. You can see all the cubes straight ahead. Another thing is the straight down look, and I use that mostly with logos. If, with cosmic cubes, I usually do the straight down style. Or if you saw the picture of the Megaminx, which is, I think that's my last picture I posted, that was that Megaminx, and it was right on this windowsill. I just did a straight down shot, and I really like that because it just has the white background and the Megaminx right in the middle. Another example is the side angle, and I'll put up a picture right now, or a couple of my Instagram pictures where I usually use the side angle when it's on the window. So I'll set my cube up on the window like right here or a little bit above it, and I'll turn the cube to make the logo facing this way, and then I'll just take the picture from there. Alright, so those are the examples. Now I'm just going to go and actually take pictures. So for now I'm just going to use this cube as an example. It is the Volk M. So I'm just going to put this up here. I usually place it on an angle. So usually I don't do straight on unless it's somewhere like here. You don't want any lines in the background because this is going to be blurred. So I would put it somewhere here and then place it on an angle like that. And for this type of picture, I would use my 50mm just because I'm doing a close-up. Alright, so we got the cube on the angle there, and then I would just take some pictures. So the next thing is colors. Some of that is done in editing, but when you're actually taking the picture, you want to try and find bright colors on the cube. So orange, green, white. I usually don't do yellow because that's not really an appealing color. But like blues, if the blue is a light blue, like floral blue, I mean you can use that, but if it's dark blue, I usually don't like that, so I don't make that the front of the picture. So that's bright colors. And then for whites, I usually do that for the background. I just always think that's appealing to just have the whole background as a white blurred, and then the cube in focus. That's just an appealing look. You've probably seen on my Instagram that I use green and blue a lot. I don't really like using orange, yellow. Sometimes I'll use red, but green and blue, usually the colors I go with. For most pictures, you want to have the cube in focus and then the background out of focus. A different example would be having 2 cubes maybe stacked on top of each other and then having one in focus and one not. The blur or the depth of field is a big part of photography in general, not just cube photography. But the object in the picture should be the main focus, and then having everything else blurred. And then again, to achieve the blurred background, you're going to need a lens like the 50mm that I have, or some type of lens that lets in a lot of light, and that is a 50mm. I mean, you don't want to use like a kit lens. That's not going to give you a lot of blur. If you don't have a DSLR, or you do and you don't have like a 50mm lens, you can try recreating the blur or the depth of field in post. It's going to be kind of hard to do, but you can try to do that. The fourth thing is being creative. So find different spots to place your cube. Use your house to your advantage. I mean, a lot of my pictures are taken in my house. All of the cubes, all the angles, and like putting it on my windowsill. It's all done in my house mostly. And then another thing is using nature. I mean, you could put it in next to some flowers, in the grass, in a tree. I've done some of that. And then the fifth and final thing is editing. So after I go over a couple of the topics in editing, I'm going to actually go and show you how I edit my pictures. But the first thing is brightness. For some lenses on a camera, you may not get all of the light coming in. So you have to recreate that brightness in post. But you don't want to go too overboard where it's overexposed, because that just does not look good. So you have to be careful with that. The second thing is sharpness. I don't like to really boost up the sharpness that much just because when you go to upload it to Instagram, Instagram actually compresses it and it makes it look really weird. So I make sure that I only bump up the sharpness a little bit. Sometimes I don't even do that. The picture might not need it, but I only do a little bit of sharpness. The third thing is colors. So I talked about before, the colors you can do while you're taking the picture. Just keep that in mind. So before I talked about how you can use colors to your advantage to make an appeal, green, blue, white, but not to use yellow. But in post, you can actually manipulate the colors. So sometimes a color might look really dull, so you can boost up the luminance on that. I do that with most of my pictures just because some of the colors might not get picked up that well on the camera. And the fourth and final thing is presets. So if you're using Lightroom, which is what I use, you can make presets on there. You can make presets mostly on any type of photo editing software. But for Lightroom, I try to make a bunch of presets, and then when I go to take a picture and I just put it into Lightroom, I just click the preset, and then sometimes I'll make a little bit of an adjustment on certain things like the brightness or contrast. But other than that, that's something I really like, presets. I mean, it's just you click and you're done. Alright, so now we're going to go into Lightroom and I'll show you how I actually edit the pictures. Alright, so we're in Lightroom right now. If you're not using Lightroom, I would really recommend getting it. I think you can get some kind of discount if you're a student in high school, I think, or college. So I got a discount on it and I use Lightroom all the time. Alright, so first I'm just going to show you what a photo would look like before and after. So here's the Megamix photo, if you saw that. I think it was yesterday that I posted it. Alright, so I'm just going to go into develop and do the before and after. So here it is. On the left is the before and the right is the after. So you can see there's a really big difference there with the brightness, the colors, the contrast. So I'm going to show you what I did to get to the before and to the after. And then I'm going to edit that picture that we took in the beginning of the video. Alright, so here's the original photo, and then here's the after. So I'm just going to edit this one right now. I'm going to try and make it just as close to the first edited one. So what I would do first is bump up the exposure, but not too bright. So obviously this is way too bright. I'd say about there is pretty good. So and then for contrast, it's really your own opinion what you like to do. There's no really right or wrong with the contrast, other than going to the opposite ends of the spectrum. But I would bump it up a little bit, probably to there. I did like plus 20. For highlights, I bumped that up a little bit, and then shadows, I'd bump that up a little bit. I wouldn't do shadows on like a black cube because that makes it look pretty weird. And for whites and blacks, I'm not going to mess with that for this photo. For clarity, I bumped that up a little bit for this photo. Saturation and vibrance, I don't mess with for this photo at least. So for this particular photo, I went to luminance and I brought down the yellow a little bit just because it looks really bright, and I don't really like that. And then I did bump up the blue because it looks pretty dark. I might have done the green and the red a little bit too. And I think for the purple, I left that alone. For split toning, I use this sometimes on, not for cube photography, but I use this particularly for cinematic looks. So if I put this on, let's see, orange, so I'd go to orange on here somewhere. It's like right there. And then I'd put that on about 6 or 7. And then for shadows, I put that on about like there, sort of greenish bluish. And then I put that on 6 or 7. So you can see, well, it doesn't really look that much different on this photo. Makes it look the background a little bit bluer. but on some photos I use that to get a cinematic look with the orange and teal tones for the shadows and highlights, but I'm not going to use that on here. And then it comes to sharpening. So like I said before, I don't really use this that much because, at least for Instagram, because it compresses it, makes it look weird. So I'd probably put that up, or probably leave it where it was. I think I bumped it up a little bit. For luminance, I don't mess with that unless there's a bunch of noise in the photo. This basically makes it look really smooth. Sometimes it doesn't look that great, but there's no noise in this photo that's noticeable, so I don't use that. So for the vignetting, I don't really mess with this on this type of photo because the background is white. So if I were to do that, it looks, I don't know, it doesn't look that great. I'll probably use it on photos where there's a bunch of colors in the background or it's darker, but I don't use that on this photo. And that's about it. You can see here, we'll go back and forth between these. So this one looks a little bit warmer. This one looks a little bit, maybe a little bit brighter and cooler, but I try to make it as close as possible. So that's what I did for this photo. Now I'm gonna import the photo that I took in the beginning of the video. So you can go here, uncheck all these, then import just the ones I took. Alright, so here they are. I'm gonna go to develop. I can already tell this one is in level, it's kind of crooked, so I'd probably crop it first. Like that. But yeah, here are the pictures. So the best one out of these right now, I'd say, is this one. And this last one here, I don't really like the way the window reflected that, so I'd probably just use this first one. The first thing I do is decide whether I want a cooler or warmer look, and for my Instagram, there's not really a lot of warm tones, so I'd probably just leave it where it was. And then bump up the brightness. I really like my photos bright, but I try not to overexpose anything. So that looks pretty good. For contrast, yeah, you just kind of have to play with it and see. I'm probably gonna bump it up a bit. For highlights, bump those up a little bit. Shadows, so you can see here if I bump up the shadows, it makes the black on the cube look really bad because those are the shadows. And it just makes it look like there's a bunch of noise in there, so I'm not gonna mess with the shadows. For clarity, I'll bump that up a tiny bit. Vibrance and saturation, not gonna mess with that for this one. And then since the logo on the cube is blue, I'm gonna bump up that luminance. It just makes it look, the color look brighter. For saturation, I might bump that up a bit. So you can see here, if I flick this on and off, so there it is off and then on. So it just makes the logo look brighter and more vibrant. Split toning, not gonna mess with that. Sharpening, again, since I would be posting this on Instagram, I'm not gonna mess with that. For vignetting, I probably would do a little bit of that for this photo, just so it focuses the attention on the cube. And that's about it for this one. I might crop it a little bit more. But that would be it for this photo. I think I'd crop that a little bit down. But yeah, there it is. So you can see the before and after here. It's a lot brighter. Let's see, is there any? Yeah, those are the different before and after views. sometimes it takes longer than usual if I'd like to make a new preset or something like that. The last thing I'm gonna do is just show you some presets that I have. So I'll just take one of these other pictures like this. Let me just crop it. So if you go to presets over here on Lightroom, if you have that, I have user presets here. So these are all the ones I've downloaded or made myself. And I labeled this one best because it's the best one that I use. It's the one I use the most. So you can see here, I just applied it. And that actually, I like that way better than the first one I did. Yeah, it looks like the contrast is a little, probably bump that up a little bit more. It looks a little more faded. But yeah, I might mess with that logo, just like I did in the first picture. I might mess with that a little bit more. But basically that's the picture. I mean, you just apply the preset and then make a little adjustments. But yeah, these are all the presets I've made and used for my photos. So that is how I do cube photography for Instagram and how I edit the pictures. I'd really recommend getting Lightroom. It's really nice to have. I just think Lightroom is the best software right now for editing photos. It's the software that most photographers use. It lets you make the most tiny adjustments to photos. I didn't show you guys this, but the tone curve is really important. I really like using that for my other photos, not involving cubes. But yeah, I'd really recommend getting Lightroom. And then the type of camera you use, I mean, if you just want to use your phone, that's fine. That's what I started out with. I still use my iPhone to take some pictures. I really hope you guys learned something from this, and if you have any questions, comments, concerns, you can leave that down below. I'll leave a link to my Instagram, and then I also have a photography Instagram if you want to follow that, which is solely for photography, and I will also leave my Facebook page all down below, as well as all the cubing pages as well. If you like watching my videos, please subscribe, and thanks for watching. Bye guys.